Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our forum here at the MSU Academic Building. Our forum here today will be the topic of law and parliamentary system in Malaysia. My friend and I will be moderating our forum today. Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Mariam Walid, your first moderator.
So my name is Hidayah, your second moderator. Before I introduce the respected panels over here, we'll be talking about law. So what is law? Law, created to maintain a well-regulated society and a reflection of society mores and thinking. Law protects basic individual rights and freedoms such as liberty, equality, and freedom of speech. It prevents individuals in powerful position from taking unfair advantage of people. Law applies to everyone, public authorities, governmental department, private bodies, and profit-making organizations as well as non-governmental organizations.
And the most important fact is, laws will change over time and we must change to keep up with the changes around us. In Malaysia, laws are usually made or amended based on local issues or problems. Nowadays, changes to existing laws or pressure to make new law can be dictated by foreigners or because of what happened somewhere. Most of the Malaysian law was created out of the English customs, but a good part of the law has been created by statutes such as Act of Parliament. There are three ranks of law. The first one is Act, where the Act means any law enacted, amended, debated, and decided as applicable law adopted in Malaysia, made by the Dewan Rakyat, which is also the Parliament. Following it would be enactment. Enactment means any law amended, enacted, and debated in the state legislative assembly, which is Dewan Undangan Negeri, in the states of the Peninsula and Sabah and Sarawak after the Independence Day. So the keyword for enactment is after Independence Day. Lastly would be ordinance, which its keyword is before Independence Day. Ordinance means any law enacted, amended, and debated made by the State Assembly, which is also Dewan Undangan Negeri, Sarawak and Sabah before Independence Day.
So with that, I think our audience has grasped a bit of what is law and ranks of law here in our beloved country. Let's proceed with the prestigious lines of panel that are here with us today. Without further ado, please introduce yourself to our audiences.
Okay, hello everyone, and I'm Dato' Azhar Azhar Harun. I'm a Malaysian politician, a lawyer, and also has served as a Speaker of the Dewan Rakyat since July 2020. I was also a chairman of the Election Commission from September 2018 until my resignation day in June 2020. In this forum, I am here as a Dewan Rakyat speaker.
Hello and good morning everyone. I am Wong Ching Hua, a Malaysian political scientist, a political activist and a political columnist. I have majored in political science, occasionally called politology. It's a social science which deals with systems of governance and the analysis of the political behavior. I had been an activist for various causes, from media freedom, electoral freedom of assembly to environmental protection. Moreover, I had written and spoken on multiple national issues. Among them are local election, federalism, press freedom, and voting system.
Very good morning to everyone. I am Robin Singh, a Malaysian politician and lawyer formerly serving as a Minister of Communications and Multimedia and the Deputy Chairman of the Democratic Action Party, a component party of Pakatan Harapan Coalition. My occupation is a lawyer and as well as a politician. I am from University of Warwick, dubbed the Little Lion of Pojong. I am the son of former DAP national and lawyer Kappa Singh, who was known as the Tiger of Jelutong. Besides, two of my brothers are also DAP politicians. I am the first Malaysian Sikh to serve on the cabinet of Malaysia.
I am Dato' Sri Azrina Othman, a Malaysian politician who served as Deputy Speaker of the Dewan Rakyat in the Perikatan Nasional Administration since July 2020. I'm directly involved and advisor to associations such as Malaysian Muslim Lawyer Association, Malaysian Women Contractor and Construction Organisation, Yayasan Pembangunan Malaysia, and the Women who Succeeds.
To conclude here, we have Dato' Azhar Azizan Harun, who was elected by the Prime Minister to be nominated as Dewan Rakyat Speaker, as well as its Deputy Speaker, Dato' Azalina Othman Syed. Other than that, she is also the first woman who created history by being the first female holder of the Deputy Speakership. She is also active in various social organizations. Our Professor Wong here is a political scientist at the Jeffrey Sachs Center on Sustainable Development and the Jeffrey Shah Institute on Southeast Asia at Sunway University. And let's not forget Gobind Singh, who earns the title as Little Lion of Puchong and his father as Tiger of the Little.
So let's proceed to the first question. I will explain a bit how the history of our political parliament started, as well as its general terms and procedure. So, as it is known, Malaysia was a former British colony, and prior to its independence, a commission was appointed to draft the federal constitution based on the system of parliamentary democracy practiced in Great Britain. Malaysia Federal Constitution divide the structure of government in three branches. They are executive, legislative, and judiciary.
To elaborate more on the three branches of our federal constitution, so the first is executive. The executive is led by the Prime Minister, who was appointed by Yang di-Pertuan Agong, and its function include action taking for the maintenance of order, in the implementation of law, for the defense of state, in the conduct of external affairs, and in the administration of internal policies. The judiciary comprised of the Federal Court, Court of Appeal, to High Court of coordinate jurisdiction, function as the determination of issues of facts and the interpretation of law to them. With the legislature is the body which has the power to pass, amend, and repeal the laws, which under the doctrine of separation of powers. Law enacted by Parliament are known as Acts, but those enacted by Federal Legislature between 1 April 1946 and 10 September 1959 are known as Ordinances. There are four types of Acts. There are Principal Act, which is the most common, Amendment Acts, which make changes to a Principal Act, Revised Act, which result changes made by the Commissioner of Law Revision, and lastly is the Consolidated Act, which brings the specific subject that had been passed over a period of time. I think it's time for our respected Dewan speaker here, Dato' Azhar Azizan Harun, to shine. So Dato', could you explain the hierarchy, the flow, and the overall system of our parliament?
Okay, so Federal Constitution vests the legislative authority of Malaysia in Parliament, include Yang di-Pertuan Agong and the other two legislative assembly. They are an upper court House of Representatives, Dewan Rakyat. The House of Senate consists of 70 members and 26 members elected by state appointed Yang di-Pertuan Agong on the advice of the Prime Minister. The House of Representatives has primacy over the House of Senate in composition and function. The House of Representatives consists of 219 members elected by a direct suffrage from single constituencies delineated on the basis of population and size of territory. The members of House of Representatives and Senate are given special authority known as Parliamentary Privileges, which avoid them debate in a court of law on any offences which have taken place in Parliament. These privileges are very important on Parliament, since it allows members to Parliament to discuss freely and debate on any inappropriate scandals and any issues which affect the nation. In addition, if any member breaches these privileges or stand in contempt of any house, penalization will be strictly imposed on that person.
I see. Okay, now let's ask our Deputy Speaker to continue more on this topic. Dato' Azalina, so what is the other function of the House of Representatives?
The House representative function as the body of formulated law for the country. A bill usually met in the House of Representatives where it is debated and passed, then sent to the House of Senate. The House of Representatives also act as a forum and its members to debate the issue government policy. The function of Senate is to review all the bills forwarded to after passed by the House of Representatives. And the Senate has the authority to delay the enforcement of any bill sent to them for a period but not more than 1 year. However, the Senate has no authority to revoke or to withdraw any bills. The Senate also acts as a forum in which the public officer and the politicians are given opportunity to discuss issues of the public interest.
I think our audience here have now fully understand the organization and also the role of everyone in the parliament as well as the do's and don'ts. Things are getting quite heavy, isn't it? Dr. Azhar, as Mr. Govind Singh mentioned just now, law could be enacted, amended and debated in the parliament. So what are the few powerful and changing laws that has been removed, amended?
Okay, one of the laws that has been amended a couple of times after repeatedly being reviewed of its laws is the Crime Prevention Act 1959 or Act 297 of each law for the prevention of crime in Malaysia born in 1959. It was amended 5 times in 1983, 2015, 2014, 2015 and 2017. This act was amended using the repeal of the Emergency Ordinance 1969 and the Security Act. In the state of 1960, which is alleged to be the cause of the widespread criminal activity during the British colonial era, an introduction to the Societies Act was introduced. The Societies Act aims to regulate its association and activities. All associations will be registered under the Societies Act and will be under police monitoring. Therefore, usually the public will be afraid to testify to combat this criminal activity because they are worried about the safety of Societies Act can provide security guarantees for the public to testify in connection with criminal cases. The same is expected on Crime Prevention Act in 1959 was enacted after the Federation of Malaya was formed. After the 2013 Malaysian general election, the Malaysian government is working to amend this act to make it effective in curbing serious criminal activities. The Prevention of Crime Amendment and Extension Bill 2013 was for the first time by Home Minister Datuk Seri Dr. Ahmad Zahid Hamidi on 25th September 2013 and approved by the Dewan Rakyat on 3rd October 2013. The Act allowed a person arrested to be detained without trial for a term not exceeding 2 years. In fact, it also empowers a crime prevention board to extend the detention period for another 2 years if deemed necessary. The members of the board are appointed by Yang Dipertuan Agong on the advice of the minister. It is chaired by a judge and consists of 4 other members. The application of this act is also extended to the whole of Malaysia. Previously, the police had the power through this act to detain suspects for a period of 72 days to assist in the investigation. This act was also originally not applicable in Sabah and Sarawak. The amendment proposed in 2013 also supports the same desire and purpose, which is to eradicate gangsterism and increasing criminal activity in the country. Minister of Internal Security, Dr. Zahid Hamidi, stressed that the enactment of POCA is to control and eradicate serious crime that are increasingly worrying especially the crime of shooting enactment in 2013 made it no longer a common law but a preventative one. This is due to the development of human rights awareness in 2012 began to gain a place among the local existing in it will give the power to curb all criminal activities before spreading. Thank you.
After listening our current day one speaker speaking on the laws that has been changed or amended, I wonder, is there any law that has received a lot of criticisms in Malaysia? And for this question, I think it is only appropriate for us to ask our lawyer here, Mr. Govind Singh. So please enlighten us with the answer on this issue.
Actually, one of the laws that have received a lot of criticism is the suicide law in our country. Historically, laws against suicide and mercy killing has developed from right to determine from religious doctrine. For example, the claim that only gods have the right to determine when a person will die. Section 309 of the Malaysian Penal Code, whoever attempts to commit suicide and does any acts towards the commission of such offence shall be punished with imprisonment for a term which may extend to 1 year or with fine or with both. Even though rarely enforced, the Malaysian government has considered suicide a crime since the colonization period. As the world has become more aware of mental health, this brings up the question as to why suicide was made a criminal offence in the first place. Psychology and psychiatry has been accepted as their own academic disciplines for years. The world now understands mental health much better, and we know that mental illness or suicide is neither caused by a lack of religious belief, nor it is done by people to escape punishment. Human rights groups in Malaysia are calling for the repeal of the law that criminalizes attempted suicide after a man with a physical disability was sentenced to 6 months in prison for trying to take his own life. Under existing legislation, people found guilty can be punished by up to a year in prison, a fine, or both. But the Malaysian government is now considering a change to the law, which advocates say cannot come soon enough.
Yes, I actually very much agree that suicide should be prevented. So I really hope that the repeal of a law that criminalizes attempted suicide will be passed soon enough. About the case law that involved the disabled guy just now, could tell us the story in detail, as I think this case is the spark of how the human rights start to request for the repeal of the attempt of suicide law, is it?
Yes, that is right actually. This follows the news of a 6-month jail sentence for a disabled individual, OKU Muhammad Sani Izzah, for attempted suicide in Terengganu. He was sentenced by Magistrate Nordiana Abdul Aziz. It was reported that Muhammad Sani, 38, attempted suicide on December 23 and was ordered to undergo psychiatric treatment at Permais Hospital, Tampoy, Johor. Muhammad Sani is said to be depressed. Minister in the Prime Minister's Department, Datuk Liew Bui Pyong, said that the news of the sentence was very worrying because attempted suicide was a mental health condition that needed to be treated as a health issue. These individuals must be given to assess that they need to mental health care and treated as patients, not made prisoners, he said.
So after we listened a few good acts or laws that has been added in the Parliament from Dato' Azhar and few laws that has received criticisms from the public as well as the Minister, let us now ask our Deputy Day One Speaker, Dato' Azharina, what are the benefits of Constitution and law that strengthen up the Malaysia Constitution actually?
The highest source of law in Malaysia, the Constitution, is the highest source of law in the country. It's existed to coordinate the governance of a country. Other than that, the Constitution also serves as a guideline for the creation of law, either on the side of government or the people. The Constitution also aims to provide assurance and protection to the people. The Federal Constitution of Malaysia touches on various aspects: governance such as freedom of right, the power and the status of Yang di-Pertuan Agong, the privilege of the Malay ruler, and special right from the Malay, the uses of Bahasa Melayu, religion, citizenship, judiciary, and many more. Malaysia practices a written constitution where the parliament rewrites power from the constitution. The purpose of the Constitution 4.2.1 create a form of fair governance. Malaysia is a country comprising various races and ethnicity. Historically, the exit of the Constitution was based on compromise between the different races on several issues such as Malay special right, Bahasa Melayu, Islam, and others. Although the Constitution states that Islam is the official religion of the Federal under Section 1, Article 3.1, all or forms of the religions are allowed to be freely practiced in Malaysia. The provision for Bahasa Melayu as the official language of the country in Article 152 also limits the use of others' language. The Yang di-Pertuan Agong protect the special right of Malay, but the right of non-Malay races are also protected accordingly. This provision creates a form that fairness govern without bias toward one race only. All races have the place in the Malaysian Constitution. Under 4.2.2, prevent abuse of power by the ruler. Previously, the ruler had absolute power. They were free to do anything, but not anymore. As outlined in the Constitution, there are several provisions specific for the Yang di-Pertuan Agong and the ruler Yang di-Pertuan Negeri. In this method, although the ruler has certain power, all their actions are subject to the Malaysian Constitution under Section 4, Chapter 3 and Article 40. Thus, this is prevent the abuse of the power by the ruler. Under 4.2.3, control the movement of the government and people. Every citizen, regardless if the ruler or the civilians, has to control his or her movement. The Constitution of the Federation of Malaysia are not only provide power to the ruling body, but also to the citizen, although through the freedom of the rights under Section 2, Article 513, and special right for the Malays. This is indirectly linked to the distribution of the power and avoid the certain parties dominating the power. There's a limit to what can do and what cannot done by the ruling body. The same applies to the civilians who have rules to follow. Next, the Malaysia Federal Constitution has a special field which makes it the law of the country that pursues peace and well-being of the people. Therefore, the important feature that the characterized of the Constitution is headed symbolize Malaysia such as the federation with a constitution, moral practices, democratic parliamentary system. Make Islam the official religion, practice the comprise and prevent of the interests always. The Constitution is the highest source of law in the country and at the same time is guaranteeing the independence of the law. The Constitution also provides the separation of the power in the administration of the government.
Thank you so much for the lengthy explanation, Dato' Azalina Osman. Now, our last question goes to our active columnist here, who is a brave man that once yells against the government and protecting the rights of the innocent. So, as you, Professor Wong, really do research on our parliament, what do you think is the weakness of our parliament here in Malaysia that could be changed for the betterment of the citizens, leaders, and Malaysia as a whole?
The Open Budget Survey 2019, OBS 2019, which was released on April 29, 2020, shows that the Malaysia's parliamentary oversight is indeed weak. Malaysia's score on the parliamentary oversight is only 19 out of 100. Malaysia's parliamentary oversight on the budgeting process should not be as weak as it is. The federal constitution envisions the parliament to provide check and balance mechanism to the use of financial resources by the executive. Article 104 of the federal constitution states that no money shall be withdrawn from the consolidated fund unless they are charged to the consolidated fund, or authorized to be issued by a supply act, or authorized to be issued under Article 102. Some also argued that the government is allowed to use excess revenue and contingency funds without the Parliament's approval and table supplementary supplies the bill later. It is true that the Article 101 of the Federal Constitution suggests that the government can spend excess revenue without parliamentary approval. Additionally, it does not clearly require the government to gain prior approval from the Parliament before spending supplementary supplies. The government is required to table either sums required or sums spent to the Parliament. However, Article 103 on contingency fund urged that the government's table of a supplementary bill as soon as possible to replace the amount used. Additionally, Article 102 of the Federal Constitution empowers the Parliament to authorize by the law part of the year's expenditure before passing the supply bill and supplementary bill.
So with the last question given off, I think all of us here could conclude that we have covered each topic of law and parliamentary system in Malaysia. From the historical of law and parliamentary in our country, to the meaning of act, ordinance and enactment, even the members of Dewan Negara and Dewan Rakyat and House of the Representative.
To sum it up, we have learned the federal constitution branches such as judiciary, legislative and executive. Not to forget the explanation of the few laws that has been added and amended, like what has been explained by our speaker Dato' Azhar Harun, as well as the benefit of the constitution of law that has been elaborated perfectly by our Deputy Dewan Speaker Dato' Azalina Othman. We also have been enlightened for the case law regarding Muhammad Sani Isa based on what Mr. Gobind Singh has explained. And lastly, there have been questions on the weakness of our parliamentary system that was given off to Professor Wong Ching Hua just now, but it has been delivered fantastically to the audience.
With that, we would like to thank our panel for the most informative speech and forum session we had. We are wishing all of you the best of luck in governing our countries, helping the citizens and society as well as upholding the law in Malaysia.
Thank you.